Good morning and welcome to day 8 of the 2023 Tour Divide. Let's have a little look and see what's gone on. Basically, when I left you yesterday, the leaders are basically stopped. And you may remember they're in there snuggled up in a portaloo. I've managed to get another photo from the inside. I don't know whether they slept in there or not. This update today is going to be a little bit of a mystery because no one really knows what's been going on, and it's been quite hard to get information. Now the riders are going through the Great Basin at the moment, which is the kind of like it's like a bit of a high altitude desert through the middle, but it's really been hit by some bad weather and it can turn to basically peanut butter mud. So we made some assumptions about the weather yesterday and what happened to the leaders, and I think it's fair to say that the conditions were pretty bad in there. So you can see they all, if we look at the race flow here, so yesterday my update would have been around this time, 8-9 p.m. Local time. So they stopped about, let's say 9 p.m. and they didn't get moving again until just before 11. Let's call it 10:30. So 10 and a half hours stood still. I mean, they've obviously slept somewhere. I don't know whether it was inside this portaloo. I mean, can you imagine 10 hours in a portaloo with 3 other fully grown men? I mean, my question would be who got to sit down and who had to stand up. Looks like that's Ulrich there trying to sleep standing up. That's Justinus. Jens, this photo is from Jens. It looks like Justinus actually might have got the throne as a seat, so maybe he's more recovered than the other guys. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out. As soon as I find out what actually happened, I will let you guys know. But yeah, it's a bit of a mystery. So they are moving again now. You can see from the race flow that they've got going again. And they got to Wamsutter, so that's where the little stop is here. But I imagine that would have taken its toll on them. So the leaders are now out of the Great Basin and into Colorado. So yeah, that's that obstacle crossed. They're now all at Brush Mountain Lodge, which is a place I know relatively well, having got stuck there in 2019. A very similar situation. Basically, peanut butter mud, death mud, call it what you want. There was a big storm hit and it was just impassable. And then you kind of get in this weird place where you can't necessarily get going again, and you totally lose your routine. So we'll see what happens with these guys. They've obviously taken a big hammering and it's given a chance for the chasing pack to catch up. Michael's record dot is getting well ahead now, so he's gone through Steamboat Springs, and so there's a big pass here, sand pass, and drop down to Steamboat Springs, and then there's a series of passes over into Silverthorne, but I'll cover that later when we look at the map. So yeah, the chasing pack, there's been a bit of a reshuffle, so you can see just looking at the weather there are a few storms floating around, and most of today's update is going to be basically stalking on Instagram to try and see what the conditions are like on the ground there. But the big mover here, Stephen Harrick, he's made a big jump. So he was riding with Lael as they went into the Basin, but he seems to have got himself right up there into 4th place, up ahead of Ezra and Chris Burkhardt. So let's just look at the race flow, see how he's done that. So Stephen, he's on the green line here. You may remember as well, early on in the race, he was held up at the border for 4 or 5 hours. He had an Iranian stamp in his passport from when he travelled there, and turns out the American Border Patrol didn't particularly like that. So they gave him a bit of a hard time. Hard to really decipher what's gone on here. But I imagine he's just had a shorter stop or just ridden through the night and really closed that ground. There is a lot of mud in the Basin at the moment, so if he was able to ride hard on the dry section and catch the guys ahead when they were going slowly in the mud, then that's an easy way to close a lot of time. Also, big props to Steve Halligan. He's moved inside the top 10 now. You can see he was having full night sleeps basically in the first part of the race. He was really struggling with his health. He's this green line at the bottom, but now he's cutting down a bit and he's really closing back in. I mean, Steve's finished 4th in their Tour Divide twice before, so he knows what he's doing and how to ride it. Lael's moving up as well, top 8 now, so solid ride in the top 10. And Martin, excuse the pronunciation, Martin van Haverbeek, I think that's right, has also crept into the top 10 for the first time. So yeah, it's still all change, and it just goes to show that you're never in control of the Tour Divide. The Tour Divide, as I found out when I did it, it kind of has a mind of its own, and you're just you just have to deal with whatever it throws at you. You can't control it. You can't control the weather, the mountains, all of the elements. You're at the mercy of all of those things. So just having a little look down. So obviously Lael is still winning or leading the women's race. She's just ahead of a record Dot, just up on pace, as you can see. It's her record, her pace has slowed, I'd imagine, because of the mud. So she's a little bit behind. Well, the gap has shortened to where her record was. And then it looks like there's basically a group sort of in Atlantic City, a few in Pinedale and a few in Atlantic City. Now these are the two big towns before you go into the basin. Let's see if we can see who's actually there. Bears Stillwater. Here we go. This is probably better looking at the mileage rather than trying to decipher the dots there. So Petercraft, Cyrus, Justin Smith and Bear Stillwagon. Bear's super experienced on this. He's ridden this. He rode it in 2019. Had a similar experience actually with the Brush Mountain Lodge mud, which I will discuss later. So this chasing pack, they've all closed up again. So we're seeing a few names now. As people drop back, new names come to the head, and the second week of the Tour Divide is where it really counts. Further down, so where are we now? Boulder. So Pinedale. There's also a big group in Pinedale. So we spoke about Katja. She was having brake issues. So she's reached Pinedale now. So she should be able to go to the bike shop and get her brake hoses changed. And there's another. So who we've got in Pinedale? 225. Caleb's there. Again, he was having issues the other day. Carl Peterson, Miron Golfman. Obviously Katja, Francesco Sevilla. These guys are all in Pinedale, so they've got to take on the Basin. Now, it's worth bearing in mind it's terrible conditions in the basin at the moment. But if it warms up and the wind blows, they could get a clear run, so that they could still close down even more, because it looks like the second group on the road is struggling a little bit with the mud as well. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of digging into those conditions in a second. Just see where the rest of the women's field is. So Katja's in second, and Hannah Simon, she's doing a solid ride now into third position. So she'll be going up and over Union Pass, and then we've got April Drange, Alexandra Huchin still pushing away on that single speed, and Marie Sorblaise. I mean, she's actually closed in quite a bit on the other women. So yeah, obviously that professional road racing background and that deep engine is paying off. Katie Derland's up there, and Gail Brown, who had to really slow up because of a chest infection. She looks like she's got going again. So yeah, she's just going into Yellowstone. So it'd be interesting to see if a little bit of extra rest is going to help her. Again, like with the front of the race, if this group of women get stuck in the mud, people like Gail could close up. So it's going to be very interesting. So let's have before we go any further, just got to say thank you to Holyfat for sponsoring me to do this. Obviously, nut butters and nut butter bars, really good fuel for these long endurance rides. There's a little bit of a discount code below if you're interested in that kind of thing, but I won't go on about these guys too much. If you're interested, I'm sure you will look, but what you really want to know about is the mud. So basically, I'm just going to do a load of mud stalking now and see what's what. Apologies about the sound levels the last few days as well. I think I've almost got it fixed, but I've got a new microphone, and I'm not that great with technology, so hopefully we're getting there. So this is Ezra, and this will be going into the Basin. Now I think you'll probably see through the variety of stories I've got coming up sort of how quickly conditions can change. So Ezra is in 4th now, I think, or was. He's in that. Yeah, his kind of 4th, 5th, 6th. Stephen, Ezra, and Chris Burkhardt really close together. So yeah, you can see, it can be running quite nice and fast once it's packed down. Obviously, a couple of cars and trucks have driven over this surface, but then you can get, the beautiful views in the middle here. You're very isolated and desolate, but you can see it's a little bit stickier. You can see where the tyres are sinking in and pulling up the mud, and then it starts clagging around the bike. Now you can ride in this kind of mud. You can deal with a little bit of mud sticking on your tyres, but it's almost worse when it dries out, and then suddenly you can be rolling, and then the next second you can just get stuck in the mud. And it looks like, he's found the wet stuff. And there's only one thing you can do there, really. Well, there's two things. You can either get off your bike and walk, or you can just stop and wait for it to dry out, which is basically what the leaders did. Again, similar thing from Lael. Looks like they had hail. They've really been smashed hard by the weather. Hail, is that light snow? Bearing in mind they are at 2,000 metres here, so the weather is a bit more of a factor. That must be Stephen Leherick coming through. They were riding, this is the first part of the basin, looks like after Boulder, not quite as remote as the latter sections, so once you go through Atlantic City, that's when things really get wild. And yeah, there's not much out there, a few cattle. And then back to Caleb. So Caleb was running in the top 10, but he's had Achilles issues. There's mud further down the course as well. So I'm pretty sure this is Union Pass. So if we look at the map, I'll just show you where we're referring to. Boulder, it's Pinedale. Yeah, so it'd be this section through here, across the mountains after Togwati. It looks like it's just sticky and horrible and slow going. Just makes life really difficult. Everything gets muddy. Your hands get muddy. Eating's more difficult because you get mud and everything. Mud in your eyes. It's just grim, and you can see a lot of people been pushing and walking up there with the footprints in the snow, in the mud. Bit of snow up there. It looks kind of cool and moody, but yeah, it's just grim. These riders, front to tail of the Tour Divide, are just getting a battering at the moment. But it does look quite pretty when it does clear up. It's almost it's beautiful when the storms clear in the mountains. Joe Nation, again, he was riding really strong at the front, right, one of the fastest guys in terms of average speed. But he had a few muscle issues, had to slow up, and actually it's come pretty good for him because of the mud. It's meant he's managed to close the gap to the leaders. He's still a little bit away, but he's riding up. It looks like Chris Burkhardt in there. So they got a good meal in Atlantic City. Yeah, and they're trying to figure out, they've obviously seen the tracker, seen the front runners stopped, probably seen a photo of them huddled in the Portaloo, and they're just deciding whether they should go on or whether they should stop and rest it out. Looks like they decided to carry on. Looks nice and dry here. Obviously, the basin's quite a wide area, 100 odd miles, so rain showers and storms don't necessarily cover the whole lot. It can be quite localised. But yeah, look at that. Carrying his bike, the death mud, a lot of water. There's a lot of water that's fallen there, and it's just sitting and causing havoc for these guys. There is a bit of high ground in the middle, which is a bit stonier, so that's probably a bit of respite for them. But yeah, look at that, soft and sandy, not going anywhere. So now we know, when that big storm came, it must have been hell for the guys up front. We spoke about Katja. I've just touched on her. She was in Pinedale, had brake issues. This would have been probably going through Tetons, Yellowstone. Looks beautiful. And yeah, more mud. There's a theme. Death mud. That's the theme of this episode. I'd imagine that was Togwati. I've had a similar experience last year. Snow up high. Again, Togwati Pass and Union Pass, you're going up to 3,000 metres, so the weather's going to hit you there. This looks like it might be Union Pass, the ridge on the top. So yeah, they've had a shower of snow. It's not going to slow you down that much, but that level of snow. But it's just wet and it's cold, and it really gets into you. So hopefully they're all okay. Does mean you can see where you're going though. Just follow the tracks of the rider in front. So yeah, that's Katja, and she's still going along, so good on her. And then the leaders, looks like they've made it to Brush Mountain Lodge. They all look battered and tired. I mean, they're a week in now, 7 days in, so they really are taking a hammering, covered in mud, trying to clean everything. Brush Mountain Lodge is a bit of it's kind of heaven on Tour Divide. Everything is there you need. You can get a meal, you can have a bed, you can wash your kit, so it's a good place to reset. However, it can be a bit of a trap. You can get stuck there far too long, and that's happened to me in 2019. We got stuck there for 2 days, combination of comfy surroundings and horrific weather outside and thick mud and a few people all talking each other out of carrying on, and time can disappear quite quickly. Again, Ulrich, just probably his version of the photo, that looks like Jens in there. So yeah, I'm sure they're glad to not be in a Portaloo cuddling together. And finally, let's not talk about mud for a minute. Everyone's favourite, Mira the dog. Just the posted this lovely little photo of the day. So this is her life. Jump out, run along a little bit, take some weight off the bike, and yeah, look at that. I wonder if he gets a tow up the hill from Mira, or whether she's just running alongside him. But yeah, that's it's quite cool to see. So I love the dog cam. More dog cam would be brilliant. So yeah, and it's even sunny as well. So they've obviously not hit the death mud yet. Right, that is enough of the social media stalking. So I'll just cover the what's coming up for the riders now, and where they are. So back on Ride with GPS and Sarah Swallow's excellent Tour Divide guide. So the leaders all got stuck in the middle here somewhere, in sort of the main chunk of the basin. Wamsata here, where you cross Highway 80, there's a 24-hour gas station. It's a weird old town. There's a lot of oil rigs, and there's a lot of oil tankers driving up and down these roads. So it's not the most relaxing place to ride a bike sometimes. But then as soon as you cross over here, you're getting into the hills. It's getting a bit more lumpy. So just to put it in perspective how slowly these guys have gone through. In 2019, I started in Pinedale, and I left at probably about 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I rode until about midnight, and I got across here. So you can cross the basin in a day, but they've taken best part of 2 days to get across there. There's a few little rolling climbs and hills, quite steep ones actually, and then you drop down into Savory. Now there's not much going on in Savory. I think there is a little store at the museum, which may or may not be open depending on when you're there, but most people will be trying to get to Brush Mountain Lodge, which must be around here somewhere. I can't remember the exact location, but yeah, so kind of starting on the climb of Sand Pass, and that's the big pass, the first big pass in Colorado, up and over Sand Mountain, and you drop down the other side. So there's a nice little shop here, Clark Stores, and then you're just rolling downhill on the road, nice and easy, into Steamboat Springs. And Steamboat Springs is basically where you can get anything. So there's bike shops. It's kind of like a holiday kind of city, I guess, almost. A lot of people live there, but there's a lot of recreation in the area, like skiing, mountain biking, outdoor activities in the summer. So there's outdoor shops, bike shops, everything you could want, restaurants, hotels. Again, another bit of a trap. If you've had a really hard time through the first part of the divide, then it's the kind of place where you can get sucked in and find it difficult to leave. So the best bet is to get your head down and go through quick. Thankfully, there is a gas station on the edge of town, so you don't actually have to go into town if you want. That's where I stopped, just went in, topped up, got out and got through as quick as I could, before you head into Colorado and a series of passes, heading over to Silverthorne. So I'll cover those tomorrow. But yeah, Brush Mountain Lodge, as I've already said, 2019. For those of you who follow the event and the Tour Divide avidly, you'll remember what's known as the Brush Mountain Lodge armistice. Basically, a load of us got stuck in the mud. A similar situation to what's happened in the Basin. And yeah, this is me with Lael. We ended up, basically, Lael caught me, and it was just we just couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't walk on the side, you couldn't go forward, your shoes were getting covered in mud, the bike was getting covered in mud, everything. So in the end we decided to go back down to the lodge, and then a number of people caught us, and like I said before, we ended up kind of getting stuck there, decided to start again the next morning. Then it snowed overnight, got wet again, so the track never dried out. It was either really wet or getting sticky wet. And up high was a load of snow. So Sofian Sahili had scratched because he got lost in the snow at the top. Josh Cato got through, but it really took a chunk out of him, and he ended up in hospital with pneumonia later in the race. So this is the next day when we tried to go through Evan and Kai, and you can just see it's just almost an impossible task. Just mud sticking absolutely everywhere, gears don't work, can't shift gear, danger of ripping your rear mech off. So yeah, I expect this is what everyone is experiencing in the Basin at the moment. It's not necessarily fun, but yeah, this is a lodge, so everyone was able to kind of clean their bikes up, and eventually we got going again. And when we did, I mean, it was beautiful because of the big storm hit. Higher up there was a lot of snow, so this is Sand Pass, and you're just pushing through the snow. Beautiful bluebird day, and yeah, it was kind of cool in the end. So yeah, not sure what the conditions are like up there. I've heard a few people in Colorado, mixed reports. Apparently there's been a lot of rain in Colorado. Still could be wet and muddy up there. Not sure if there's going to be all that much snow. I'm sure there'll be a few bits further along the route, but probably at higher elevations, and maybe not enough to like really slow the pace down. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. So hopefully tomorrow I might be able to fully complete the story of what happened in the Basin. Hopefully the riders have a nice reset at Brush Mountain Lodge and get moving on through Colorado, and can get going again. I'm not sure they're going to catch Michael's record pace. Obviously Mike really pushed hard in the second half of the race, and he had dry conditions, so I think that might have gone now. But nonetheless, there's still a Tour de Var to be run. There's still 3 strong guys up there, so I look forward to bringing you all the information over the next few days. Thanks again everyone who's watching this. It's taken me by surprise quite how popular it's been. Thanks for the support. Just give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. And any comments, just put them below. Any questions, and I'll do another Q&A in a few days time. So thanks for watching, and enjoy the dot watching for the day.